discovering the Burton Dassett Hills. The Burton Dassett Hills Country Park is a great place for outdoor activities. These are no ordinary hills, and the scenery isn't entirely natural. The rusty brown rock that you see is called Milestone. It was quarried and sent as an iron ore to steelworks in South Wales. They removed the rock from where the car park is, but left the hill with its familiar beacon tower. The up and down nature of the hills is due to overgrown quarry faces and heaps of quarry waste. The newest quarry, disused for nearly 100 years, show fresher faces of the Milestone. This hard rock would not have been easy to break up. Quarrying was always small scale and intermittent. The ore was also of low grade and difficult to transport downhill. But up to 53 people were employed at one time. Most of the ore was taken by aerial ropeways to railway sidings on the Warwick Road. The landscape of these hills today also reflects the Milestone rock underneath. The thin, stony soils mean few trees and no crops, but there is enough grass for sheep grazing. Burton Dassett Church is built of Milestone, also known as Hornton Stone, as are so many older buildings in this part of England. So how did the Burton Dassett Hills get here? It is to do with the rock again. The Milestone forms a cap of resistant rock that frost, wind and running water can remove only slowly. The Warwickshire lowlands to the north and west are made of softer rocks that can be worn away more quickly, and that's why they are lowlands. To the southwest we can see the scarp of Edge Hill, another area of Milestone quarries. The Milestone used to be continuous between here and Edge Hill. Where has it gone? There is no big river to have cut this 2-mile wide valley, a route for the M40 motorway. We can look back to the many ice ages that Britain has experienced in the last 2.6 million years, when ice sheets from Scotland, Wales and the North Sea were not far away. Perhaps these huge volumes of meltwater from these ice sheets could not drain away and were ponded against these hills to form lakes. They could then have overflowed in huge torrents, eroding the gaps either side of the Burton Dassett Hills. Imagine looking out over Warwickshire with a large lake and floating icebergs on view. Modern humans had yet to evolve, of course, but it was too cold for our ancestors to live in Britain. The toilets at Burton Dassett are built of blocks of Milestone, which contain plenty of fossils, mostly seashells, called brachiopods. So this rock used to be a sediment on a shallow seabed. Where Milestone has been used as a building stone in the local area, it can often be seen packed with fossils, especially the clusters of brachiopods. And there are other seashells such as scallops, and extinct creatures called belemnites, and occasional ammonites. These fossils tell us that the Milestone formed roughly 175 to 190 million years ago in the Jurassic period of time. Dinosaurs were around in the Jurassic. There are no dinosaur fossils at Burton Dassett, but sea-dwelling plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs have been discovered in Warwickshire. Dinosaur bones have also been found in Oxfordshire, as well as dinosaur footprints. Many Jurassic rocks, including the Milestone, contain round grades of sand called oolith. There is a golden rule of geology: the present is the key to the past. We can find out how a rock was formed by looking at what is happening today. Ooliths only form in tropical or subtropical shallow seas with strong waves and currents. Imagine England in Jurassic times as a series of subtropical islands like the Bahamas. We think there was a land area to the southeast of here. There were dinosaurs but no sediment to preserve them. Was the world much hotter in the Jurassic? Or is there another explanation for those subtropical Jurassic seas? Magnetic grains in rocks tell us that our location was indeed in the Jurassic subtropics near the equator. In fact, our bit of the Earth's crust has been drifting northwards for the last 400 million years, but at less than 2 centimeters a year. In Jurassic times, the world was very different from today. All the continents were joined together, which helps explain why dinosaur fossils have been found on all of them. The science of geology involves plenty of detective work. In the small quarry not far from the beacon, there is an exposure of Milestone. The hard Milestone contains broken scallop shells, but there are rounder pebbles too. Where do you find pebbles and broken seashells today? On beaches, of course. This part of the Milestone was formed on a Jurassic beach. Below the Milestone are layers of siltstone, a much softer rock and made of smaller grains. Its fossil seashells are often small and very flimsy. These shells would have been smashed to pieces with strong waves and currents, and the glittery flakes of mica in the rock would have not settled to the seabed either. So much calmer conditions than when the Milestone was formed. There is a sharp junction between the two rocks. This means a gap in time between the two rocks were formed. The silts would need to be buried beneath other layers of the sediment and compressed into siltstone. Earth movements then lifted these rocks out of the sea and the top layers worn away. The sea level rose again, maybe millions of years later, to deposit the Milestone, starting with the beach sediment. There is so much more to discover at the geology of Burton Dassett, including other rock types and a major geological fault. Study the WGCG display board near the toilets and access our website for resources, and join us for field trips and indoor events.